Hello there. Thanks for tuning in. You know, it just occurred to me, words change, don't they? Or they become less useful. We don't tune in to online products like we do. We don't even tune in to TV like we used to. We log on. We click. Not really tuning. Oh, well, I've been here waiting for you. I hope you brought some extra folks along. Hit those like and follow and subscribe buttons. It sure helps. The calendar says it's Monday, June 22nd already. Did you know summer arrived yesterday afternoon? So this is the first full day of summer 2026. Keir Starmer, the Liberal leader of the United Kingdom, has announced his plan to retire. It means Britain will have one of its quick elections. The Brits don't do it the way we do. We spend a year or two running for president or other major offices. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars on individual races sometimes. In Britain, an election can be called and scheduled quite quickly.
Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete.
That video from the Associated Press of his announcement. The formal contest, as you heard, begins in early July, could end in a matter of days. Starmer will remain in place until a new leader is chosen by his Labour Party, which could come as late as September 1st. Starmer's efforts to move the party closer to the center have angered the far left that rules his party these days. It's a lot like the Democrats in the U.S. His biggest difficulty with the U.S. came when the U.K., like other so-called NATO allies, refused to allow the U.S. to stage our warplanes on their bases for the attacks on Iran or to get involved, even though oil stuck in the Strait of Hormuz was for them, not the U.S. We had plenty of oil. And they closed their runways to us, despite the fact the U.S. never leaves NATO high and dry like that. They can't wait for us to get their oil flowing again, though, you can bet. Changing prime ministers in England is not rare. There have been 6 of them in the last 10 years. You know by now, I'm sure, that James Burrows has died. At age 85, he had a wonderful career of making us laugh. As a comedy producer and director, he was among those at the top of Olympus. He won 11 Primetime Emmys, 5 Directors Guilds, and a Lifetime Achievement from the Guild. He started with the Mary Tyler Moore Show back in 1974. He directed over 50 television pilots and co-created the TV series Cheers. Burrows directed many episodes of Friends, Taxi, Bob Newhart, Frasier, Mike and Molly, and Will and Grace. He was an executive producer of some of ABC's live studio audience shows, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Good Times, Facts of Life, Different Strokes. He made us laugh a million times. And now when you look at television, there's nothing like those shows. Without Lear and Burrows and a handful of others, TV comedy is in the doldrums these days. That ocean needs some fresh new breezes like James Burrows. There's some good news out of Colombia. Abelardo de la Espriella, or Espriella. I think that'll be easier for me to say. He's claiming victory in the runoff election for president in Colombia. He's a criminal defense attorney. President Trump likes him. Espriella is from the right. His opponent was socialist leftist Senator Ivan Cepeda. Espriella's claim of victory may be accurate, but The official results have not yet been announced, and there are a lot of votes yet to count, and it's mostly the left doing the counting. An Espriella presidency could be good for the war against illegal drug smugglers. Some of the biggest and worst cartels are Colombian. This as 2 more men in a suspected drug boat have been splashed by the U.S. Navy. And there are some survivors plucked from the water by the Coast Guard. Southern Command says this was in the Caribbean. The way this works is actually pretty direct. Southern Command, using the Navy and satellites and the Coast Guard, typically watches as bales of drugs are loaded onto the boats. They watch the alleged smugglers get on the boat, and then they watch as the boat sets off on well-known, all too well-traveled smuggler highways in the oceans before they decide to take out the boat. And they do. Sometimes there are survivors who are either hospitalized or brought to the U.S. to go back to their home country or for jail and trial. It's not a good future if you get caught doing that. When Russia started its invasions of Ukraine, it started with Crimea. Said at the time, the people of Crimea are actually Russian, and we're just liberating our own. Most people didn't argue that too much because they are mostly of Russian extraction. Now, as Ukrainian attacks on Russia's oil and gas infrastructure does more and more damage, Russia finds the need to cut back on consumption. First to feel the pinch are certainly not the good folks in Moscow. It's Crimea, where civilians and businesses not considered vital to the military will be turned away at gas stations now. Fuel sales in Crimea halted, except for the government and the military. I don't know, said the pilot, if he's hallucinating or whatever, but he just bit a passenger and he's trying to fight everybody. That was the pilot of an American airliner, a hop from Charlotte to Philadelphia. He was talking about one of his passengers. The guy was in his 70s, too, had to be restrained and arrested when they landed. EMTs were on hand to see to the bite. After landing, the air traffic controller told the pilot, "Happy Father's Day." Another unruly passenger tried to get into the cockpit of a United Airlines flight. It's hard to do that today. They are strong, those doors are, and securely locked ever since 9/11. The Chicago to Minneapolis flight diverted to Madison, Wisconsin, and police took that man off the plane. In Denver, some bozo got on the runway and was killed by a Frontier Airlines plane that was taking off. Airport officials say the man jumped the fence at the airport and ran out onto the runway in front of the plane. Parts of him apparently were found inside an engine which caught fire. In the high-speed emergency takeoff abort, just as the nose was coming up to rotate, 12 people were injured, not seriously, and one runway had to be shut down for a while. The pilot did a great job, though. Aborting a takeoff right as rotation, right there at rotation, is one of the riskiest things you can do as a pilot. The plane is moving fast. It's light on its wheels because the wings are beginning to raise the plane, which is full of fuel, and there is a lot less runway available for stopping. And in this case, one engine was on fire. The pilot got it done. Hats off to him. Oh, and one more. Another unruly passenger in a Delta plane forced the pilot to make an emergency landing in Houston. That plane took off from Hobby Airport, headed for Atlanta, when the passenger tried to break into the cockpit. The pilot turned the plane around, landed, and security removed the passenger from the plane. Possible mental health crisis is the way they put it. Worse and worse situation in Cuba. Most airliners have stopped going there because, unless they have enough fuel for the round trip already in the plane, it's easy to get stuck in Cuba because the jet fuel tanks, for the most part, have run dry. Flights from Canada, for example, would need to refuel if they went to Cuba. Can't do it, so flights from Canada are not going there anymore. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool is being repaired again. It was more than repainting, by the way. The vinyl covering at the bottom of the pool was peeling. And this is so very unusual because investigators say that algae doesn't make vinylized paint rip and tear and peel. It just gets slick and slimy. So investigators started looking into it, and President Trump says there have been arrests for vandalism. Now, not all of them have been actual vandals. At least one guy who was arrested appears to have been just checking it out, reached in to touch it, and they thought maybe he was messing with it. Anyway, it makes a lot more sense. He said they took some sort of knife or blade and put a 250-foot-long gash in the facade of the pool and also poured destructive chemicals into the pool. That could explain a lot of the peeling. Next, Trump says the reflecting pool will be fully drained and the bottom properly resurfaced once again. Word to the wise. If you go to hike the Grand Canyon trails, you should be very sure to have enough water with you. It gets hot in the canyon, always has, especially this time of year. Not talking about global warming here. 109 degrees in the canyon is not a headline, but it is a reality that can cook your brain if you're not properly hydrated. 3 people died in the last week there. A couple in their late 60s on a northern trail and a 72-year-old man on the south trail. You have to pack your own water down into the canyon because in a lot of it, there is no water to be had. It's summertime. It's hot in Paris. French officials have decided to outlaw some public drinking. People can get pretty drunk and unruly in the heat of summer, especially during the huge street parties along the St. Martin Canal and on the riverbanks of the Seine. It's a problem everywhere. Just ask the police, who always get ready for trouble on the hot nights of summertime. And lastly, there's the story of Bingo, the pet dog. He's a retriever who came trotting up to the family with something in his mouth as if to say, "Look what I brought for you." It's in Oklahoma, and the family's delighted reaction was caught on the home security camera, the doorbell camera. Fox 4 put it on their newscast. It was a live armadillo.
Bingo, drop it! No! 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 Bingo! It's alive! Hold him! Hold him!
Well, okay, maybe that wasn't a reaction of delight after all, the kids squealing and all. After a bit, Ringo did drop the armored little critter, also known as armadillo, and scurried into a neighbor's yard, none the worse for all the excitement. I guess we'll stop there. Thanks for joining in. Quick look at some of the day's news. Hey, if you get anything good out of these visits, I do hope you'll help spread the word. It's you and me in this together. And I hope you'll check in at the website, harleycarnes.com, from time to time. There are books for sale there sometimes, Anyway, I'm Harley Carnes, and as I always like to encourage you, make some good choices in your life today. Make a decision to be happy. And fly safe. It's the only way to get there.